as we kind of get our feet rocking, we set up, we shift to our trail side, we wind up to the top, and then we start to fall forward through the transition. Now, this is really important because as we fall forward through the transition, we're getting that weight or pressure on the left side. This is really critical because to get that rainbow drill going, we actually have to have something to push off of. If we go to the top and everything's back here, it's going to disrupt the whole sequence. So when we set up, just to kind of go through that again, we run it to waist high, run it to the top, we fall forward. As we fall forward, the knees square up. That's a sign that the pelvis is opening. And then this is where the rainbow drill kicks in. From there, we want to push off that ground and create a rainbow with the left foot.
I want to talk to you today about Live View Golf. Now, you guys hear me say all the time that you need feedback when you're practicing. You need to know if you're actually doing what you're trying to do, and the best way to give yourself feedback ultimately is video. And not only is video the best way to give yourself feedback, but being able to see yourself simultaneously as you're doing a movement is the best form of video feedback. It's the best way I've seen to make changes in your swing and be able to correlate the differences between your feels and your reels. Live View is super easy to use and set up. Simply set it up behind or in front of you. You connect it with your iPad or phone, pop that on the ground. You can actually do your practice, see yourself as you're doing it, the best way to expedite your process. I encourage you guys to check out Live View Golf. We'll put a link in the description down below with a coupon code. All right, guys, so here to my left, obviously, Mr. Josh. Now, as you notice, Josh has two clubs in his hand, two beautiful Scotty Cameron putters. Josh is actually going to be running a giveaway special where one of you lucky viewers is going to win a Scotty Cameron putter. So Josh, what putters do we have there?
Eric, these are Scotty Cameron limited edition putters. We have the Global Limited in my right hand and the Scotty Cameron Tel 3 Terillium Limited in my left hand. Beautiful so you putters. Can't get these anymore.
Nice, okay. Yeah, I think I could probably make a couple putts with those.
Yeah.
Perhaps. They look good. So guys, at the end of the video, we're going to be, we'll give them all the details at the end. We'll show them all the putter giveaway stuff. But just wanted you to see, hang out to the end of the video and you'll get the info on the Scotty Cameron putters. So Josh, why don't we put those down carefully?
Yeah.
Carefully put them. And let's talk about this rainbow drill. So I actually saw Josh do the rainbow drill on his Instagram. If you guys do have Instagram and don't follow Josh, he's at Josh Koch Golf. We'll put that down in the description down below. And Josh had a couple drills that he did on Instagram that are super cool. So maybe before we talk about those, let's cut over to Instagram. You'll see those videos of Josh explaining it. Then we'll come back, show you how you can put this in your golf swing. All right, Josh, so obviously everyone saw the video there, which I know I texted you after you put those up. I was like, dude, these are unbelievable videos. Maybe let's just go into a little bit more depth, maybe re-explain what it is and how the golfer could perhaps break it into a two-part downswing. And really how to use the ground for more speed.
Sure.
So why don't you hop in here if you would, maybe grab a club and we'll flip-flop spots.
Yeah. So the idea for the drill, I was working with a student this summer who had a lot of lateral slide towards their left foot. Pelvis, their left hip went about 5 inches past their left heel. So I was trying to get the player to actually get their pelvis a little bit more rotated in an effort to help that lead foot get unweighted a little bit more. So as I was cueing the player, they were having a little bit of difficulty doing it. So it came to a point where we got through the transition and I said, all right, I want you to create a rainbow with your left foot. Okay, and the student went like that and it clicked. So I was like, oh, well, I think this could help a lot of people. So essentially what it led to was the student was able to repeatedly drag their left foot and create a rainbow. Obviously we're on sand, so we might be able to see it a little bit better. Sure. But so yeah, so in leading up to it, I like to use a little priming sequence. So basically what the sequence is just using our arms here. Yeah. Okay, so as we kind of get our feet rocking, we set up, we shift to our trail side, we wind up to the top, and then we start to fall forward through the transition. Now, this is really important because as we fall forward through the transition, we're getting that weight or pressure on the left side. This is really critical because to get that rainbow drill going, we actually have to have something to push off of. If we go to the top and everything's back here, it's going to disrupt the whole sequence. So when we set up, just to kind of go through that again, we run it to waist high, run it to the top, we fall forward. As we fall forward, the knees square up. That's a sign that the pelvis is opening. And then this is where the rainbow drill kicks in. From there, we want to push off that ground and create a rainbow with the left foot.
Yeah, I love it. And I like too in there kind of how there's like 2 steps to this, right? Or 2 parts. And the way you worded that of getting things pushing forward would be like the first non-negotiable. So you have something to push off of,
Right.
Be the using the ground to create more speed part. And you gave 2 awesome checkpoints in that first part. So when the golfer would come down and get to left arm parallel during the downswing, those knees being square, right, or square to the target line. And then you actually talked a little bit about this heel replanting as well. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so, and you see this a lot more with players who lift their foot in the backswing. And typically what they'll do is as they go up, they wind up to the top. The lead heel will actually replant forward of where it started from, okay? So what this does is it does 2 things. One, it maxes out the range of motion in the left hip, and it also loads the left hip and puts it in a position that makes it easier to actually push off the ground. So if this heel is landing backwards this way, it's a lot harder to do that.
Got it. And I know in I think a separate one, or one of the comments I saw, you were mentioning how you could actually even maybe take a tee, right? If someone's like, hey, well, how do I do that replanting? You could actually put a tee like just outside of your heel, and maybe like you're hammering the tee down.
Yeah. So if I'm trying to cue people to do that for the first time, what I do is I have them imagine a tee outside their left heel, okay, and then align the foot. As they wind up to the top, I actually want them feeling like the heel is going to land on the tee and hammer it into the ground. So that's just giving the player the general awareness of where their body needs to move through space.
I like that. I haven't seen that one yet. Let me hop in here, Josh, for a second. I'm going to try this little hammer deal. So as I'm working in here, and the whole point of this, right, like why are we doing this? The whole point of this is, in the beginning part, is using the ground for speed. Right? It'd be like the baseline.
Speed, but I also think there's an accuracy component to it as well. I think, when you use the ground correctly, I think that aligns the shaft back at impact. So I think speed, yes, but I also think there's an accuracy component with the driver as well.
And almost like you mentioned before, of like moving correctly to get all of the other added benefits later. Right. The rotation pieces, stability in the club face, club path, right, the delivery of the club. So and obviously you guys are seeing examples of this as we're talking about it on the screen to show you, but just to reiterate, the first piece, and I think the easiest way to check this, I was thinking it down the line. What needs square by P5, right? If I go all the way up to the top of my swing, as I get back down to left arm parallel, so a couple feet down in my downswing, these knees square to the target would show me how much hip rotation I have. That'd be the first part of that. So like for instance, if my knees were too far this way, my hips are not turned enough.
Exactly.
Right? And as I'm squaring my knees up, right, as I'm using that as a checkpoint here, I'm doing I really like the hammer and the tee. I've never seen or heard that before, but the idea of like slamming the heel down, but actually putting a tee in the ground to do it. Right. So as I'm going back, perfectly okay for my heel to come up a little bit.
Oh yeah. That will actually open up some range of motion as well. And actually, I would get that heel landing a little bit earlier. Right there you go. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. So ultimately, things that we see on camera, oftentimes when we're trying to feel them, we have to feel them a lot earlier. So
maybe like exaggerate?
Yeah, exaggerate. That's
well, one of the things you said when we did our previous, you guys didn't see Josh's videos we did earlier, or I guess September around the US Open. One of the things you mentioned there too is like when you see something on camera with your swing, you often have to feel that way earlier.
Exactly.
We're talking transition pieces. And so that would be applicable for here.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's more or less kind of how you're winding things up in the backswing and using the momentum of the pivot to initiate that transfer forward.
So I'm kind of feeling when I'm doing this, obviously my left heel's planting. I feel like my left heel's planting down a little bit closer. And for me, I'm actually feeling like my trail leg's flexing a little compared to normal. Let me just hit one with it. Obviously, like we talk about all the time, like if I don't hit this ball good, doesn't mean these things aren't good, right? What I'm trying to do is record it, change a motion. Why am I doing this? Okay, I want more X. Let me try and build this in. But let's just try that first. So I'm going here. I'm thinking about the knees getting parallel and the heel slamming down a little bit earlier. So let's do that first. Yeah, that felt good. I mean, I hit that as solid as I could hit it. So now I would go back and look at it and be like, all right, well, my knees could have been square earlier, right? I could have slammed the heel down, et cetera. And one caveat, I think, for this piece, and you mentioned with the weight forward part, we talked about this a little earlier. The next piece of the puzzle we're going to talk about, part 2, certainly being very good for a player who has too much lateral, maybe too much slide, right? But getting the weight forward as you transition, or if you're a golfer who maybe stays back too long, they may need to stay on that first part and exaggerate that piece a little. Is that fair?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, if the weight doesn't get forward early enough in the transition, we got nothing to push off of. If it doesn't get forward earlier, then typically that player will end up being late and then have too much slide with the pelvis. So it's a healthy blend in between. We want to get the momentum of the pivot winding up so that we get loaded here and set us up to actually be able to create that rainbow move. If you're the player that hangs back, you got to make sure you kind of get the first piece in check from there, because ultimately down the road, as you get acclimated and aware of this drill, it's how you're loading the body that's creating this reaction. So it's not necessarily something you're trying to do. Initially, you know, just like any change, you're getting a general awareness of it. But at the end of the day, it's how you're loading the body that allows that foot to kind of create a rainbow.
And I like a lot of the pieces you too, and obviously like you just mentioned, as we're talking through the details here to explain it, and we're training, but over time, the rest of this would happen as a byproduct of doing the correct things earlier on.
Exactly.
And I just think that caveat of like, you know, there's a lot of higher level handicap players who really need to spend time on the getting forward part before we would go to this next phase.
I mean, just like anything, you know, when you look at a drill, it has to be applicable to what you actually need to do. Right? I mean, like if your issue is if you already unweight the lead foot, this isn't something you need to work on. But if you're the person that has too much lateral slide of the pelvis, sure, then this is something that could actually help, you know, you use the ground better. It could help create more speed. It could also help create a little bit of accuracy as well.
Love it. So let's dig into part 2. I know in the video, it was like knees to parallel by P5, replanting the heel. And then the second part, I believe, was the leg extending. And then the rainbow. So like we'll kind of run through it again, wind up, land forward. So weights under the lead side. Give me a number there, Josh, if you had to. Just ballpark.
80-20.
Perfect.
80 left foot, 20 right foot.
Got it.
Okay. Keep in mind that I'm not sliding my pelvis laterally. So, and that's not happening because I'm opening my pelvis in the downswing. So I'm forward, I'm opening, and then this is where we're kind of set up to be able to do the true rainbow drill, which is push off and create a rainbow with the left foot. And typically I'll have students kind of do it repeatedly over and over again just to kind of get that feeling of that foot dragging. Now, is that exaggerated? Yes. We would never want to actually do that in this swing. I mean, if we were actually hitting a ball, it would look something more like that, where the foot just kind of spins a little bit. And that's important because especially at higher speeds, you want a little bit of movement in that foot to allow the pelvis to get clearance to actually rotate. If that foot's staying planted, you're actually vulnerable for injury. You know, that's where you might see some guys, like in the long drive world, we don't want to hit with metal spikes, because if we hit on metal spikes with turf and they get caught, we could do some damage to our lead side.
I like the sneaks, man. Let yourself move around. Flip flop. I want to try that little rainbow. And I think that's one of the things too, especially in the past couple of years, where if you actually look closely at the footwork, and we can show some examples here of players and how much their feet move around, I would typically see a high correlation even in those that whose lead foot moves the most and travels the most, a lot of times rotates the most, the best. And speed correlation, like walk with Bubba Watson's feet.
Yeah, and it's opening up range of motion. It's giving them clearance to kind of get their pelvis through. So.
And so a lot of people, even on a different topic, and I don't want to go down a different page, but even people maybe who really struggle with getting enough turn and lead hip depth in the follow through, this even in and of itself could be an effective way for that.
Right.
Even to train that piece.
Yeah, for sure. Because if you look at it from the down the line view, as you do that, go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
You'll see that, especially someone who early extends, right? You go into early extension, the pelvis is going to kind of move this way.
Yeah.
Now do the opposite, kind of do what you just did.
Yeah.
It's pulling the left hip more around this way. And then if you just hold that position right there, you can see from the down the line, his pelvis is fully rotated, right elbow is bent, core is wound up. And then the shoulders are square at impact. So that's a sign that he basically got that body rotating through the ball.
And so even if someone did just that for the hip depth piece and the rotation, that can be extremely effective.
100%.
So I've never done this before. Okay, so we're going to kind of work our way through one or two. And I got to say, even as I'm doing this, right, even as I'm working in here, me getting things parallel at P5, which I feel like I'm increasing my knee bend and replanting, feels a lot of power in and of itself. You know, I'd probably live there for a little bit. But as I work through here, so I'm going here, so I'm feeling my left leg extending, right, as that foot's pulling back. Do you have any specific feels, or kind of keep it that simple, right? I'm pulling this back as my hip pushes back?
Right, yeah, that was the idea behind it. When I thought of the term rainbow, I was trying to get the student to get their foot moving. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if I tell them to drag their foot in a rainbow-like fashion, exactly. You can see that you are already, the cueing is helping you get it.
Yeah, I don't need to make it any more complicated.
Exactly.
Okay.
So.
Okay. The foot here. Cool. And then I'm hitting with that. Now, would you do like a set where I'm doing that without a ball?
Yeah, so I typically wouldn't work on this in the actual swing. Now, if anything, if I was going to do a drill, we could do something like this. Go ahead and set up. So go up and then land it at P5 in a downswing. Good. If I was going to do anything, I would hit it from there, kind of feeling that rainbow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so feel like exactly.
See, and I can see when I swing too, like my lead leg doesn't extend that much that early.
Right.
Yeah, I need to feel that a lot.
Yeah, if anything, you tend to go a little bit more linear.
Reflex.
A little bit too long. And that's one of the things you'll see that in your swing, the right foot actually starts to drag a little bit more this way, which is a sign that the pressure is going into the left foot a little bit longer.
Too long. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get it there early enough, and then I don't get out of it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah, that's nice.
I want to just kind of feel that part first. Yeah, and I even let my foot, even as I'm doing that, as it's sliding around, me feeling like my foot is literally, even if it just picks up and goes back, but the creating depth piece for me to have room to go through to create the turn. Yeah, I love that. So are there any more details? I think that's pretty good. You kind of live in space one.
Yeah, I think, like I said, ultimately to make the rainbow aspect happen, you have to be open and forward by left arm parallel at the latest.
Yep.
You know, at that point, that's where you have enough weight forward to be able to kind of push off and get that foot going around.
Perfect.
So.
Perfect. Love it, dude. Thank you. So we're going to hop over and talk a little bit more about the Scotty Cameron putter giveaway. So we'll cut to that video now. Hopefully you guys do what's in that video, and one of you guys will have a brand new Scotty Cameron putter. All right, guys, so we announced this giveaway back in early December, and I'm super excited. We're getting closer to that number. I have two Scotty Cameron limited edition putters that I'm gonna be giving away one of them, okay? So the winner gets to choose which one they want. Here on the right, we have the Newport Trillium T22. You can see the Newport back, the Trillium bronze face, and then the 15-gram weights on the bottom. As noted, this was a limited edition putter that you can no longer get. They're going for about $1,000 on eBay. 34-inch shaft band. And then I believe this is the pistol grip, or one version of them, okay? Grip still in plastic, face still in plastic, brand new putter. This one is the Scotty Cameron Global Limited with the jet neck, and then what I believe is a BMW inspired paint fill, okay? This was released in 2018. Once again, a 34-inch shaft with a black shaft. And this is the Pistolini grip, so you can see there's a little bit more on the butt of that one. Also still in its plastic. So
You know, super excited to be giving one of these away once we reach 1,500 subscribers. And then the winner will be able to actually choose which one they want. So be sure to like, comment, share all my posts so we hit that number as quickly as possible.
Hey guys, thanks for watching today's video. If you like the video, do us a favor, click that gray like button, that thumbs up button down below. Subscribe if you haven't, leave a comment down below. We'd love to talk to you about what you thought about today's video. The more action we get here, the better. The more YouTube likes that, sends our videos out so we can help more golfers. Really appreciate that. If you did like today's video, we'll put a similar YouTube style video card up here. You can click and watch that. If you'd like to check out CogornoGolf.com, you'll also see that logo. We'd love to see you there.